All too often today in America, being or just seeming to be gay can be dangerous. A recent report showed a spike of 13% last year in violent crimes against people because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. The victim in the case we're about to show you was a boy who liked to dress as a girl. But now defenders of the classmate who shot him say the killer was also a victim. Here's ABC's Juju Chang for our series, Crime and Punishment.
Larry King was an 8th grader in Oxnard, California, who, like many middle school students, began exploring his sexuality. His English teacher, Don Boldrin, says Larry had learning issues and behavioral issues. After being removed from his adoptive home, he started showing up to school wearing girls' clothes, makeup, and 4-inch heels.
Larry wasn't doing anything that was against the rules. He was dressed in any way that a girl would have been able to.
But his eccentricities made him a prime target for bullying. Larry's best friend, Avery Lasky, saw the backlash.
They would tease him 24/7. They would beat up on him. He would go in the restroom for a while, and they'd push him into the lockers.
So they bullied him in every way?
Yeah.
Mrs. Boldrin says she wanted to make Larry feel that he had nothing to be ashamed of. So she secretly gave Larry a hand-me-down, her daughter's green prom dress.
I told him to enjoy it, have fun.
Some might say, what is a teacher doing giving a dress to a boy?
There's a fine line in the classroom, and it's so hard because as a teacher, you're just seeing things with children that you shouldn't see.
What Mrs. Boldrin says she saw is something that happens in schools all over America. Children tormented for being different. And friends say there was somebody particularly disgusted by Larry's flamboyant behavior. 14-year-old Brandon McInerney.
He would call him names. He would always say, well, I'll get you later. I'm gonna hurt you.
2 days before Valentine's 2008, Brandon did more than that. English class had just gotten underway.
I remember hearing a pop.
Mrs. Boldrin says she turned and had a horrible feeling.
It was very quick, but you could smell smoke, and I looked at Brandon, because Brandon was standing.
He was holding a .22 caliber handgun.
And I asked him what the hell he was doing, and he looked at me, and then he shot Larry again.
Point blank to the back of the head, execution style, in front of all his classmates. Brandon was picked up just blocks from school. Inside his backpack, police found a copy of Hitler's manifesto and notebooks with Nazi scribbles. The 14-year-old was charged as an adult with first-degree murder and a hate crime.
I believe the DA thought there are certain crimes that are so heinous and so egregious that it's not appropriate to deal with them in juvenile court.
He says classmates testified Larry King seemed stuck in a vicious cycle of getting bullied and then striking back.
Mainly just call him names, gay or a fag.
But then the trial took an unexpected turn. Brandon's defense lawyer made a controversial accusation in court that Larry was not only the victim of bullying, but that he'd bullied Brandon right back.
On a daily basis, Larry King was sexually harassing Brandon McInerney, and no grown-up did anything about it.
Can you help explain, though, how a 5'1", effeminate boy can bully a stronger, bigger, strapping athlete?
He was chasing boys around school with his heels. He was touching himself. He was doing things that are sexual in nature.
The defense says Larry humiliated Brandon with his sexual taunts.
Somebody said that he went onto the basketball court in front of all Brandon's friends, embarrassed him, and asked him to be his Valentine.
His lawyer argued Brandon was misunderstood. That Hitler book came from the school library for a World War II book report. But Brandon, who was once an honor student, had been falling behind in school. Both his parents were addicted to drugs. Brandon's father was beating him violently, according to his brother.
He was a little kid who just got pushed to the brink.
So in your view, he just lost it?
Yeah.
But after 8 weeks of testimony, who would the jury believe? Was Brandon a cold-blooded homophobic killer who should spend the rest of his life in jail? Or did he just snap in the heat of the moment, which would make it manslaughter, making him eligible for parole in his 40s? They deliberated for 4 days, but couldn't agree on a verdict. A hung jury, a mistrial. These jurors are speaking out together for the first time. They all believe Brandon should never have been charged as an adult.
How many of you were convinced it was a hate crime? Not even close. Why do you shake your head, Nancy?
It was, to me, way off base.
Don't forget, there was a boy who also was murdered, shot in the head.
We never forgot that. Never. Not as a group, not as individuals, never.
Brandon's mom has been sober for 6 years. She's never spoken on national TV, but says she's now trying to make up for being what the defense called a terrible mother.
What would you say to Larry's family?
How sorry we are that this happened. They don't get to go visit Larry, and I know that. And they don't get to go wrap their arms around Larry. And I think about that every day.
Prosecutors say they want to try Brandon again for murder as an adult, arguing he is capable of killing again. But Dawn Boldrin, who's no longer teaching, disagrees, even though she witnessed the execution-style shooting in her classroom.
When you heard hung jury, what was your thought? What was your reaction?
I was elated, happy. And
why?
Because I realized those people saw a child.
These jurors say they saw a child as well. They're now wearing Save Brandon bracelets in support. Tomorrow, a California court will re-examine what exactly justice means for both Larry King and his accused killer. For Nightline, I'm Juju Chang in Oxnard, California.
And 2020 will have an hour-long in-depth look at this case on Friday. Our thanks to Juju Chang for that story.